Welcome in, everybody. Welcome. Good morning. I hope everyone has their cup of coffee. We are here early today. I know everyone's used to my late streams with doing the live recordings of the NFL games, but we are here for our morning show. I have my cup of coffee, and yes, this is a Go Blue mug, and we are ready to go. So, I hope you're all warm and comfy and you have your cup of coffee or your whiskey, whatever makes you happy, and welcome in. I'm Alexis Jade, and this is the fifth quarter. So, we got a fun show in store. At least I think it's fun. Good morning. I see some comments already. Holy cow, coming in. Mark, good morning. Thank you for doing this. Well, thank you for being here. I think it works the other way around here. I really needed this. Well, I'm glad I could be of service this morning for you. I hope you enjoy the show. And Rome, good morning from Germany. Oh my gosh. You were up late and you're here early. Look at you. That's dedication right there. But we have some fun segments that I want to get to in this show. So why don't we start by breaking down what our lineup is going to be here today. So we have, let me get rid of this comment here. I am my own producer, so if there's any errors, then please bear with me. But in today's lineup, we have breaking down the NFL news of the week, NFL playoffs, wild card, and divisional round recap. We have 2 rounds of wild card, or 2 rounds of NFL playoffs we have to go over and recap here quickly. We also have, of course, the segment Mad Minute. And we have, finally, last but not least, to end out and round out the show, final playoff game predictions. So that is what we have in store for the show today. And without further ado, I suppose let's get into our NFL news of the week. So, coming in hot, obviously, it is the off season for any team that's not currently in the playoffs right now, which is just about all of them. So if you are a team that's not currently in the playoffs, then chances are you have a lot of changes going on. Now, not every single team, but just about every single team have some changes going on this offseason. A lot of OC changes, defensive coordinator changes, a lot of head coach changes, and obviously player personnel coming and going, and the locker room's going to look a bit different going into next season for a lot of these teams. But we do have some news in terms of the hiring and firing front. So to start us off, we have Brian Callahan, who is the former offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, he has a reputation. He has a good resume on his hands of being an offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. And he has been hired, replacing Mike Vrabel as the new head coach for the Titans. I think this makes a lot of sense. I think the Titans have a young offense that they want to start, getting incorporated into this NFL. They want to start getting them involved. They want to start getting this offense running. The Titans are an interesting team. They've been a team that have somehow won just enough to have a good record or just barely make it into the playoffs. Not this year, but they've been close. But they've never been quite able to get over that hump, been able to get over the hump of being a good or a great team that can consistently compete in the NFL. So, at least when it comes to the postseason, right? So I think this is a good step in the right direction for the Tennessee Titans. Now, obviously, I think Vrabel was a great head coach. I was surprised by the firing myself. But I think if they're going to replace him, I think I understand why they would want to bring in someone who's an offensive coordinator for a team that was pretty successful on the offense. So I'm curious to see how that all looks, and I think it's a good hire for them. It's a smart move, and we'll see where this goes for that team. And we'll see who the replacement is for the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, we also have some Bears news. As we know, the Chicago Bears had fired Luke Getsy amongst a bunch of other offensive staff, who was the offensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears, if you're not aware. He originally came from Green Bay. Well, the Chicago Bears have been on a hunt for the Sean McVay tree / Kyle Shanahan, but leaning more towards the Sean McVay hiring tree. All the candidates they've been interviewing heavily fall into that category, into that system. So it was very clear that they were going to hire someone from that same family tree. They clearly have a set offense that they want to run, which is rare for the Chicago Bears, that they actually know what they want to do on offense. So They finally have made their hire, excuse me, in Shane Waldron, the former OC for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, obviously, he has quite a reputation himself as well. He has coached Russell Wilson. He also is most known for coaching up Geno Smith, who was a 35-year-old quarterback at the time, labeled as a bust, and turned him into one of the best quarterbacks in the league when he was playing under Waldron. So he has the same McVay style offense. And I think it very much falls in line with what the Bears are looking for. And obviously, as everyone knows, the Chicago Bears are in a hunt. Well, not so much in a hunt as they are in a debate over the QB decision. So obviously, this OC hire will not strictly indicate what quarterback is going to be picked. I know that there's been a bit of Twitter debate in that regard of who this offensive coordinator was hired for. I don't think he was hired for anyone specific. I think this is about as neutral of a hire you could get if you're the Chicago Bears. And obviously, he must have impressed them with his playbook in terms of adjusting to no matter who the quarterback is going to be for the Chicago Bears, whether that's Justin Fields or Caleb Williams or Drake May or whoever it may be. Or Taysom Bagent. Who knows? It could get wild in Chicago. We just don't know. But I think this is a very, very good OC candidate and OC hire for the Chicago Bears. And I will be interested to see who the new quarterback coach is and wide receiver coach is, because we all know that those are important positions as well. But right now, the Bears have officially hired their new offensive coordinator. We also have in player news, former Cardinals tight end Zach Ertz has signed with the Detroit Lions. He has signed with the Lions a few days ago in a last-minute addition for this Lions team, who's obviously going into the playoffs to fight to make it to the Super Bowl. Now, he will be starting on the practice squad, but I'd imagine that he will be making his way to the active roster by game day this weekend. So I don't anticipate him to be on the practice squad for long, but he has to go through the normal protocol, same as everybody else. But I think it's quite obvious that there's maybe potential hopes that there might be a ring in his future. Now, we can't speak for him, but I would say that perhaps he's hoping that Detroit can take him to the promised land and get him that Super Bowl ring. And you know what? If they do, then great. I hope he gets his ring. He's obviously a great veteran in this league, and I wish the best for him. And it's going to be interesting to see him in Detroit. And also, how do you learn a playbook that quickly? I'm just curious. The tight end position is not an easy one, and I don't know how you learn the scheme that quickly, or if it's something he's been working up and has already gotten the playbook, but he's got a lot to learn in a quick turnaround time before a big, big game over in San Francisco. So curious to see how that will all work out. And finally, this isn't so much news as it is squelling rumors, but Jason Kelce, obviously the center for the Philadelphia Eagles, had so many rumors swirling around since his season ended in Philadelphia that he was going to be retiring, and I even saw news articles announcing his retirement. And he has since come out and pretty much squashed a lot of those rumors. He's essentially said, and apologies for my cat interrupting, this is a home recording, but he has come out and essentially said that he can envision himself retiring and he can envision himself playing. So it's going to come down to a matter of him deciding whether, I think maybe the team deciding what they're going to do with a lot of the staff and players on this Eagles team. And maybe that will aid in his decision. But as of now, no official news has been announced. And obviously there's also the rumors of Travis Kelce retiring with his brother at the same time. I really don't think so. I think if Jason Kelce retires, I don't envision Travis Kelce retiring anytime soon, but that's just me. So all we know is right now we can expect to see potentially Jason Kelce on our screens for the football season again, and not just shirtless chugging beer in the booth watching his little brother play. Although that is hilarious and I would love more of that content. But that is our little news recap we have for the week. Obviously, a lot's been going on, and I see some comments flying in here, so I'm just going to take a little peek here and see what's going on here. But it looks like we're just talking football and saying good morning to each other, which I love that. So good morning, everybody. Welcome for tuning in if you're just hopping in here. Now, let's get in to the playoffs, because the NFL playoffs are not just among us, but they're almost over. We have two more games left before the Super Bowl. And then after that, guys, the NFL season is done. We don't have any more playoff games. We don't have any more news. Well, we will have news. Lord knows there's a lot going on in the offseason that we're going to talk about. But apparently also my cat Finn has a lot he wants to say in this as well. Hey, buddy. Hey, come on. No. Anyways, this is the perks of doing a live show from home. But apparently feeding them before going live isn't enough. But a lot going on in the offseason. But for now, we still have NFL playoffs to talk about. Thank God, because I love watching football. So let's get into our NFL playoff recap. So since our last episode, we do have some games that have since been played. We had the NFL wild card round, and we also had the divisional round. So we obviously had a lot of blowout games. I think the first few rounds of the wild card was a bit of some anticlimactic games. They're always exciting when it's your team and they're blowing another team out of the water. But when you're just watching and your team's been eliminated from the playoffs, it's watching those teams get blown out can be a little bit boring, but also still exciting. It's still fun to see all the fun plays that come up. But obviously, besides just some of the blowout games, we also had some really, really close games and also some surprising wins. So we have a lot of games to go over here. So let's start breaking them down. So we have, starting us off, the Browns versus the Texans. Now, this was a game that I personally predicted the Browns to win. I thought that they had the veteran roster. I thought they had the better defense. And, going against a rookie quarterback, it might not go all that well for them. I was mistaken. I was wrong. The Texans kind of annihilated the Cleveland Browns. So if anyone saw that game, I think it was quite obvious that it was a complete blowout by the Texans. CJ Stroud, rookie going into his first ever playoff game, played amazing. I think did he have a perfect quarterback score rating? I believe he had a perfect or just about near 1 decimal point off of a near perfect quarterback rating, which was quite surprising. Although if you've watched him play throughout the rest of the season, it wouldn't really surprise you. But going against that strong of a defense, I genuinely was not expecting it. I was expecting the Cleveland Browns to come out much stronger than they did. They struggled on offense. Joe Flacco struggled through a few interceptions, and CJ Stroud and the Texans just blew him out of the water. So obviously the Texans won that round. And then on top of that, we had Miami versus Kansas City. That was an extremely cold game. I remember I was live streaming during that game and I had walked outside to go to the store to grab some dinner in between the two games. And it was so cold that the water in my eyes froze. And I kid you not, it froze. So how they were playing outside in that is crazy to me. It was beyond freezing. Catching the ball had to feel like you were getting hit by a rock or a boulder, but they played it. Now, Kansas City seemed to handle the cold pretty well. I think the first early throws from Patrick Mahomes, he was clearly adjusting to the cold, but after that, it didn't really seem to faze him. The same can't be said for Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, he really struggled to throw the football. His accuracy was not there. He was having throws that ended up short, off target. Accuracy placement wasn't great, ball placement. So the Miami Dolphins just really struggled to get anywhere on offense, and their defense really wasn't holding Kansas City too much. I mean, they were holding them a little better than I think the Bills did, to be honest. We'll get into that game in a minute, but yeah, it was a not quote-unquote full-blown blowout. They were close for a few quarters there, but eventually Kansas City just took the lead and won that game, as they normally do, as Kansas City does against Miami and about every other team in the NFL. So Kansas City won that one, so we have Texans and Kansas City winning their weekend, and we also had Buffalo versus Pittsburgh. Now, this was another blowout game. Buffalo annihilated the Pittsburgh Steelers. It got ugly pretty fast. The first quarter was kind of close. It looked like maybe the Steelers could have a comeback and maybe keep it a little bit of a close game, and then they just didn't. The Steelers coughed up the football a few times, and Buffalo's offense just ran all over their defense. It was not a pretty sight if you were a Steelers fan, and their offense on Pittsburgh just could not get started. They really had no method, no scheme to their play, and Buffalo had a nice balancing act between the passing and the rushing, and it just worked out really well for them, and Buffalo annihilated the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Pittsburgh was knocked off, and Buffalo won and advanced to the next round. And then obviously we had Green Bay versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I once again got this prediction wrong. I predicted the Dallas Cowboys to win this game. I thought that they had quite a good defense and that the offense had been humming. And I actually got part of my prediction right. I predicted one of the teams to choke because both the Packers and the Cowboys have a history of choking in the playoffs in big game moments, and I predicted it was going to be the Cowboys this time around. I know the Packers and Cowboys have history, and I should have probably sided with history, and I got this one wrong. I got it very wrong, and Green Bay smoked the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, smoked. It was not a pretty sight. If anyone watched the live stream with me, I mean, it was pretty much just watching, Green Bay just do what they do best. And it was a showcase by Matt LaFleur. I mean, Jordan Love played great. He's the other storyline from that game. But Jordan Love played great, and I'm not taking anything away from him by saying this. But I think a lot of people are missing the credit and giving to Matt LaFleur. I mean, he put on a showcase on how to be an offensive coordinator, how to be a head coach. His play calling was exquisite. He was scheming wide receivers wide open. The amount of tight ends and wide receivers that were just standing in the middle of the field with no one around them for 10 to 15 yards was crazy. Now, Jordan Love evaded the pocket well. He did a few Rodgers-esque, if you want to call it, throws or moves, evading the pressure and moving back from the pocket instead of climbing up, which I thought was interesting. But I think it was a very, very well-balanced attack from Matt LaFleur between rushing and passing. And overall, it was just a great game from the team as a whole. The defense, Joe Barry, you have to give him credit. As much as Packers fans seem to not like Joe Barry for the majority of the season, Joe Barry has not come to play these past few weeks. I mean, he has gotten this defense together, and they've been playing pretty good defense. So it was a pretty much all-around beatdown by the Green Bay Packers to the Dallas Cowboys. And then, of course, ironically enough, to end the game, it started snowing in Dallas. And if that's not symbolism, then I don't know what is. And then we have the Lions versus the Los Angeles Rams. Obviously, the big storyline here was Jared Goff going against Matthew Stafford, both going against their former teams. Matt Stafford is back in Detroit, where he left to go win a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams. He was booed coming out of the tunnel. He made some comments after the game. Obviously, there's some bad blood there. But Matt Stafford did not come away with the win. This was another prediction I got wrong. Clearly, I need to work on my predictions when it comes to games because I have not been doing hot. But this was another loss for me, another failed prediction. But the Los Angeles Rams did lose. The Lions beat them. It was a pretty close game. Out of all the games, this was probably the closest one that we had that entire weekend. It was a bit of a back and forth, but eventually when we got towards the end of the game, the Lions kind of took the game to seal the win there. And good for them. Obviously, that was probably the loudest the Detroit Stadium has been, Ford Field has been in a very long time. The first time in, 50 years that they've been to the playoffs or won a playoff game. So congrats to the Detroit Lions. They won the division. They advanced to the next round of the playoffs, and it was obviously a great atmosphere and a great time. And, the fans of Detroit, as a Chicago native myself, I understand what it's like to root for a team that constantly breaks your heart. So, Detroit Lions fans, you guys deserved it. You guys deserve to finally win once in a blue moon, and enjoy it while it lasts is the advice I'll give you. Enjoy it while it lasts. But moving on to our final game of the wild card round, we had Tampa versus the Eagles. Now, Tampa basically stomped on the Philadelphia Eagles. It was not really a close game. It was closer than the Buffalo game or than the Texans versus the Browns game, but it was still pretty much a beatdown by Tampa Bay in terms of Tampa just looked like the better team on defense, on offense. They were moving down the field. And the Eagles' offense could not really generate anything. They could not get going. They could not develop downfield. They couldn't get the rushing attack going. They really couldn't do much of anything. And it really was just a proper beatdown. I mean, the Tampa Bay was just the better team. That's just what it looked like. And obviously, the Eagles are a former Super Bowl team last year. Well, they contended for the Super Bowl and they lost, obviously, to the Chiefs, we all know. But they had high hopes. They started the season 10-1 and then lost 5 of their last 6 games, I believe. So they really started the season hot. And I think everyone and their mother thought that they were on their way to the Super Bowl again. And then somewhere along the way, they lost themselves. They demoted Sean Desai and things just went sideways and the team fell off. And the team did not look like the team that went to the Super Bowl last year. And it showed. And they were unfortunately knocked out of the playoffs very early, the first round of the playoff round for the NFL season. So, unfortunately for Eagles fans and a lot of those Eagles players who might not be on that team next year, I think that's a team that's going to have a lot of changes coming up in this offseason. But, finally, to round out our summary of the playoff rounds, we have our last games that happened this past weekend. We had Texans versus Baltimore, and similar to how the Texans kind of beat down the Cleveland Browns, the Ravens beat down the Texans. CJ Stroud and the Texans offense really struggled against this Baltimore defense, and we all know this Baltimore defense was going to be tough to go against, and this was a prediction I finally got right. I kind of anticipated the Baltimore defense to give them a hard time, and they did. And Baltimore took it away with the win. Lamar Jackson looked like Lamar Jackson. He was rushing all over the place. He got some passing yards thrown in there too, but he was doing what dynamic quarterbacks do, which is have a balanced rushing, passing attack, threatening with your legs, threatening with your arm. He was doing it all, and he was showing how having a dynamic quarterback like that is such a threat to the defense and can open up so many things on your playbook. And it was so fun to watch. And Lamar is having a great season. I hope he gets MVP again. And I hope that he goes on to go to the Super Bowl, man. Lamar deserves it. And also, we have some history coming up with the Baltimore Ravens and Kansas City facing each other. Is we have a new historical moment, if you want to call it. The first time 2 former MVP quarterbacks under the age of 30 will be facing each other, which, spoiler alert, I guess I gave away who also is going to the next round, but I think if you watch the games, you already knew that, since this is just a recap. But, next up, we have Kansas City versus Buffalo. Since I already hinted at it, we all know Kansas City won that game. Buffalo, on offense, they played pretty well for the majority of the game. I thought it was interesting that towards the end, they were shooting for the end zone when they didn't need to. They had the first down, and that's all they needed. But nonetheless, they didn't get the first down, which means they had to go for the field goal with about a minute left in the game. And the field goal was shanked. It was missed, but don't take it all out on the kicker. A lot of moments come down to that game that's not just relying on the field goal, and all that field goal would have done was tie the game. That doesn't count Kansas City marching down the field and scoring at the end anyways. So, don't take it all out on the poor kicker there, guys. But Buffalo did end up losing to Kansas City. I thought, if any time was going to be their moment to shine and finally knock Kansas City out of the playoffs, it would be at home, when Kansas City has had a bit of a down year compared to their normal years. But they couldn't get it done, guys. They couldn't get it done, and Kansas City won the game. Like I said before, I was live during those games, so there is my live reaction to that field goal being missed, and I think it's kind of funny. But, I think I'm funny, so who knows. But next up, we have Tampa Bay versus the Lions. Now, I thought maybe Tampa Bay could upset here and get the win somehow, but Tampa Bay's offense struggled against the Lions' defense, and the Lions came away with the win. I did think it was a bit closer of a game. It was more exciting. Kansas City and Buffalo was a super close game, much more exciting than the wild card rounds. But oh my goodness. But the Tampa Bay Lions game was close and it was fun, but the Lions came away with the win. I think Tampa Bay really struggled on offense, and Baker Mayfield obviously threw the game-sealing interception that they could have had time to drive down the field and tie the game, and unfortunately Baker threw the interception and they lost. But the Lions defense is interesting, and I'll get into it more in a segment in a bit when I discuss my next playoff round predictions. But the defense performed pretty well for the Lions, and I think kind of won in the game. And obviously, Jared Goff played extremely good football. That offense played extremely well. St. Brown played extremely well. And it was just a fun game to watch. But the Lions came away with the win, another one at home. But now they are going on the road, which is going to be a bit of a change of pace for them so far in this playoff run. And then finally, last but not least, we have Green Bay versus San Francisco. This was a much closer game than I thought it would be. Not to discredit Green Bay, but I think a lot of it had to do with San Francisco essentially had 2 weeks of rest before this game, and I think you could see it when they came out. The first 2 quarters, they were kind of sluggish. The defense was sluggish to get started. The offense was sluggish to get started. It was raining, so Brock Purdy was really struggling. I mentioned it a few times in my live. He was really struggling with his accuracy and his ball placement, and Jordan Love seemed to be handling that a little bit better than Brock Purdy, but Purdy did not look like his normal. Purdy did not look Purdy. He did not look like his normal self a bit, but when it came down to the game on the line, Jordan Love threw the game-sealing interception, and Brock Purdy led the team downfield for a touchdown drive to win the game. It was a fun game. It was an exciting game. Came down to the last minute of the game, and Jordan Love threw the interception, and Green Bay won and is advancing to the next round. So we have our new matchups going into this round of the next playoffs. And we have our new playoff bracket, which I'll throw up on the screen here. So obviously it breaks down. This is courtesy of Bleacher Report. I did take it from them, so thank you guys for the little bracket here for a visual. But as we can see, we have the Baltimore Ravens at Kansas City and San Francisco at the Lions, and that is our final round before we find out who our Super Bowl teams are. So I am super excited to see these games and see who goes to the Super Bowl. And I will make my predictions very shortly here. But first, we have another segment we have to get to, which is a little fun little segment that I think can be a bit of a bit more of an exciting moment when we get to having more technical aspects here and all the sounds and all the effects, and it will be super fun and super exciting. And I'm also totally not stalling because I forgot to download my slide here that shows the graphic for the next thing, so don't mind me totally not stalling whatsoever as I move to try to get my little banner here for this segment. Give me 1 minute. I messed up. Okay, here we go. Here's our segment coming in at you hot. We have, drum roll please. Let's go. Mad Minute. And it is not top plays of week 18. We're actually doing the top plays of, well, not the top plays at all. We're doing a top play from the playoff season. I didn't edit that part. My bad. Once again, I'm my own producer, guys. I make mistakes. I'm learning as I go on the fly here. But we have Mad Minute. And in Mad Minute, I'm going to play this clip. It is my favorite clip of the playoffs so far. There's a lot of high contenders in this. There was a lot of good moments in these games these past few weekends. But my favorite moment is right here. So welcome to Mad Minute. We have Josh Allen dropping back to pass. He scrambles, he moves up the pocket, he gets the first, fakes the slide, keeps running, breaks a tackle, and makes it all the way down. He's gone into the end zone. Josh Allen doing what Josh Allen does best, being a dynamic, rushing, passing threat quarterback. We have Buffalo fans throwing snow, and Josh Allen just doing what Josh Allen does. He is a beast. He is breaking tackles. He is faking his slide. He is running to the end zone, breaking away a 52-yard touchdown run. So that is my favorite moment of the playoffs so far. It was the most exciting moment on my stream, and that is your Mad Minute clip of the week. So, going into our final segment here of the show, we have the playoff bracket and my playoff predictions. So, just a reminder on what we have coming up for the show. For the final segment, we have the final playoff game prediction for the lineup here today. So, our final playoff prediction. Here, once again, I will put this up for reference. We have the Baltimore Ravens at Kansas City, and we have San Francisco at the Lions. Now, starting with Baltimore at Kansas City, I think both teams are going to go neck and neck a little bit. I think Kansas City started fighting their footing a little bit in the playoffs. Now, obviously, even when Kansas City is having a down year, you can never count them out because they're still a high win team. They still have a lot of wins under their belt, and they still have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and everyone else on that roster that is just a beast. So, they also still have Andy Reid. So, we got to give them credit where credit's due. We can never underestimate the Chiefs as much as they may want us to underestimate them. We don't. We never do. Kansas City is a tough team to go up against, and I anticipate this to be a close game, although I do anticipate Baltimore's defense to give Kansas City a much harder time than the Buffalo defense did. And when you look at the Buffalo-Kansas City game, it was a pretty close game, all things considered. I mean, considering the Buffalo defense couldn't really get a stop, I think the game still ended up coming down to the final 2 minutes. So going against this Ravens defense, Baltimore Ravens defense, is not going to be easy. And Lamar Jackson in this offense is humming. Now, obviously, it's going to depend how Lamar Jackson in this offense perform against this Kansas City defense. So it might be the battle of the two defenses. However, I do predict that when it comes down to it, the Baltimore Ravens are going to come away with the win here. I know quite a few people are picking the Ravens, but I also would understand, and I'm almost tempted to pick the Chiefs just because on history's side, the Chiefs always seem to somehow find a way to do it, to come away with the win. But nonetheless, I am picking the Baltimore Ravens. I think this is Lamar Jackson's time to shine. I think this is his shot at the Super Bowl, and he takes this team there. Obviously, it's not just him, it's the other players, it's the coaching staff, but Lamar is having a great season, and I think this guy deserves it, and he is going to take his team to the Super Bowl this year. Put it on the books. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, you're going to the Super Bowl. And once again, just for reference, the final matchup we have San Francisco 49ers versus the Detroit Lions. Now the Lions will be playing in San Francisco at San Francisco. The first two games were home games for the Lions, so this is going to be a bit of a different atmosphere than they've been used to in the playoffs so far. I do think that will have its advantages for the 49ers. I also think this Lions defense is good. They're not great. Their front is good. Their trenches are good, but their linebacking core, their secondary, it's just okay. And this 49ers offense is going to expose that. I really do think that this 49ers offense is going to have a great day against this Lions defense. The defense might come away with a few stops, but I think at the end of the day, when you have Purdy throwing to George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey, and even if Deebo Samuel just doesn't play, I still think that this 49ers offense has way too much talent on the team to not win this game strictly on offense, but flip that field around and you're talking the 49ers defense against Jared Goff and the Lions offense. I think the Lions are going to have to rely heavily on their offense to make plays, and I do anticipate the 49ers defense to come away with more stops than the Lions defense does, which essentially means more points on the board for the 49ers, which means I'm predicting the 49ers win this game against the Detroit Lions. I also kind of think that the Detroit Lions will do what they do and mess something up towards the end of the game. There's going to be a fumble, there's going to be a bad call, an interception, something's going to happen. And I don't think it's going to be as close of a game. I do think that the 49ers run away with this one towards the end. I think it'll be close for the first 3 quarters, and when we get to the fourth quarter, I do think that eventually the 49ers are going to kind of run away with this game and take over from there and seal the deal and punch their ticket in for the Super Bowl, which, if Kansas City wins, would be a rematch of a few Super Bowls ago when we had Kansas City versus the 49ers, but I am not picking the Kansas City Chiefs to make it to the Super Bowl. So if they did, that would be a fun story. However, I do think that this final round of playoffs is going to mean the Baltimore Ravens and the San Francisco 49ers, you are going to the Super Bowl. So, those are my playoff predictions for this week. Obviously, it's a little quick because those are all the games we have left, guys. The season is almost over. It is so sad. It is so depressing. Obviously, there's still a lot of content to talk about in the off season, but it does make me sad that the playoffs and football is soon to be off our screens. I'm going to miss it a lot. I love watching football, and I will be live streaming these games. If anyone is interested, I will be doing live streams of these games when they're on. But nonetheless, I do believe that San Francisco and the Baltimore Ravens are going to be head-to-head in the Super Bowl. So let's hold me to my word. And if I'm wrong, then I am wrong. But for our last little bit of the show here, I'm going to scroll through some of the comments and see what everyone has been saying during all of this because, like I mentioned earlier, I don't have a producer right now. So I am not able to multitask like that. So more like triple task. So let's see what we got here. 49ers got it this year or Baltimore. So that's your pick. You think 49ers are going to the Super Bowl or winning the Super Bowl. Got it. I do think if those two teams go, it's going to be an interesting matchup. Poor Kitty. Yeah, I don't think they're poor kitties. They got so much food this morning and they're just on their Zoomy train and interrupting Mom's show. So what can you do? Meow to everyone. Oh, gosh. F Green Bay was the best part of the playoffs so far. Yes, for Bears fans, I can imagine why. The dog had to go out. Yep, the cats unfortunately don't go outside, not without leashes or in a backpack. So they're out here in my room just rocking them out. Let's see. Down with the Browns. Yes, the Browns are officially out of this playoff contention. The Browns were a surprise team that honestly kind of made it in, and their defense was stellar. They were dealing with a lot of injuries, but I also don't think the Browns are going to be the same team next year, and I don't think for the better. I think with all the injuries they had and also an aging roster and whatever is going on at their QB situation, I don't know how much I anticipate the Browns to be a heavy presence next season, but I could be wrong. Missed the game on Peacock. Yeah, I had a Peacock subscription, so I was able to watch it. Or 2 games were on Peacock, I think. But I was able to watch those games, which was nice. But were you at least able to get the recaps there, Mark? Never, ever, ever bet on the Cowboys. I know I made the mistake. I shouldn't have done it. I do have, it's not in the room currently, but I do have a Dallas Cowboys football helmet. My family wanted me to be a Cowboys fan growing up. This is a fun fact about me. They wanted me to be a Cowboys fan, and I said no. So I do have some Cowboys memorabilia in the house somewhere here, but yeah, never bet on the Cowboys. I think when it comes to the playoffs, it's safe to say that I wouldn't put money on the Cowboys to be the team winning that game. I guess I'm happy for the Lions. Yeah, I mean, look, when they're in your division, you don't really want to root for them, but as a fan, you have to feel for them because you get what it feels like, and it's good for their team to finally win, which is nice. But, at the same time, I can't fault you if you don't want to root for a division rival. So, I don't blame you, but I guess as a fan, you can be happy for the Lions, even if they're in your division. Baker Mayfield, maybe I was wrong about him. I think Baker's had a great season. I think what happened is what I'm almost nervous the Chicago Bears are going to do, if I'm being honest, is the Cleveland Browns gave up on Baker way too quick. They, moved off of him so quickly, and I think he was still showing a lot of promise, and, there was other situations going on around him, but the Cleveland Browns were just so quick to get rid of Baker and say the problem is the quarterback, and Baker's a good quarterback. I think Tampa Bay has found a quarterback in Baker Mayfield that can sit there and be the guy going forward if you build the team around him, and they can build off of what they did this year and add some more talent and get back to the playoffs. I really do think so. I'm proud of Houston. They surprised me. Yes, I think they surprised just about everyone, to be honest, unless maybe you're a Houston fan and you saw it coming. But I'm also proud of Houston, proud of CJ, proud of the new head coach there. Like, it's all a lot of new folk over there that really did a great job this season and making it to the playoffs with a rookie quarterback, a new head coach. I mean, that's impressive. That is impressive. You cannot knock that. So big kudos to the Texans. I think that was a very, very good run by them, and Lord knows their future's bright, so they're a team to look out for into next season. That is for sure. Go Baltimore. Good. Go Baltimore. Let's go. I'm down for it. Let's go Lamar Jackson and go Baltimore Ravens. I had the Bills winning. My throat's getting dry here. I had the Bills winning. I also had the Bills winning. I was mistaken and I got that prediction wrong. My first sip of coffee of the show, guys. But yes, I also had the Bills winning, and it was a bit depressing there. Well, good for Kansas City, but depressing for my record because it's not looking so hot. But now Baltimore can kick some Mahomey butt. I agree. Let's see how this game goes. I already gave my game prediction, but I do think it's going to be a close game. But I think Baltimore is going to come away with the win there. I'm getting a phone call down here, and I'm trying to get it to go away. This is interesting. But yes, I think the Ravens can come away with the win. You know what I do think is interesting is I think both games could go either way. I think both games could be very, very close games. But it also wouldn't shock me if one or both of these games turn out to be blowouts. Like when you look at the defense and the offense on all these teams, it wouldn't entirely shock me if the Baltimore Ravens completely blew out the Kansas City Chiefs, or it wouldn't shock me if the 49ers completely blew out the Detroit Lions. Do I think that's going to happen? No, but if it happened, I wouldn't be completely shocked. So these are going to be better matches than I think we've had so far, although the last round of playoffs was a lot better than the wild card round. Wild card was wild. I still blame Cody Parkey for us not being Super Bowl champs in 2018. Yeah, the Bears and Cody Parkey and that double doink was the epitome of being a Bears fan. It was I very vividly remember that moment of watching the game, and he had made it, and then they pulled the kicker and called the timeout as he was kicking, and we all thought he made it. That's it. We're going. We won, and then he double doinked it, and I remember my jaw just completely dropped, and they panned over to Matt Nagy, and he was sitting there with the exact same face as me. Like, just complete disbelief. So that was a rough moment for Bears fans, 100%, and we're still trying to redeem from that day. He looked like Mr. Irrelevant, but I'm glad he stepped up. I don't know if I'd go that far, but he definitely had an off game. Brock Purdy did, for sure. He was not looking his best self. He had some accuracy issues for sure, but he got the job done when it needed to get done, and that's what counts. Regarding the Green Bay game, Love played well, but there were a couple of times 49ers secondary fell down and left the receivers wide open. Yeah, that's very true. Like I said, I'm not trying to discredit Love by saying it. Like, I think sometimes people take it the wrong way. I'm just saying Love did play well. Don't get me wrong. He played well as a quarterback. However, yeah, I also noticed that there was a few moments where I saw 49ers secondaries or cornerback, like they were or safeties or cornerbacks just on the ground, like they had slipped in the rain, and the receiver was just wide open, or they were schemed wide open, and it was just a great job on them. But yeah, it's going to be interesting how the Packers look next season, because I also wonder, like now that teams, because Packers weren't a team that anyone was really worried about for a lot of the season, and then they kind of picked up the pace and they were a surprise little team in the playoffs. But I do wonder, I think they're going to be a good team next year, but I do wonder how, now that other teams will have a whole season of tape to look at Jordan Love and look at the offense, because no one had really seen Jordan Love play before, I do wonder if defenses will be a little more well-equipped against Matt LaFleur and his scheme. Like, I do wonder if they're going to have as much success after teams have a full season of tape to review. And I also wonder the same with CJ Stroud. Like, I think CJ Stroud was good. Don't get me wrong. I hope he has a great season next season. But I do question the same with CJ Stroud. Like, after teams have a full season to review tape, are defense is going to be a little more well-equipped to beat the Texans offense, or is CJ Stroud just going to keep balling out like he does? Curious to see. Mark wants to know how everyone's doing today. Let's see. I have a morning here. Good morning. How are you doing? Welcome into the show. Goff minimum 2 interceptions. You think for this game? I could see that. I mean, guys, the Bears beat the Lions and almost beat them, well, should have beat them that first time. So, and that's a team that's not in the playoffs. And obviously the Lions had some other losses beyond that. But I just think I bring up the Bears because the Bears defense exposed the Lions offense. Jared Goff threw 3 interceptions against the Bears in the last game. And I think he threw 2 interceptions in the first game against the Bears. So if you want to figure out how to beat the Detroit Lions offense, you need to watch Chicago Bears film tape because they got Jared Goff all off his rocker and came away with like 6 interceptions on Jared Goff for the season. So if you want a blueprint on how to beat the Lions offense, look at the Chicago Bears defense from this season. My shirt matches my hair. Oh, the flowers. I have to pull for the Lions because Sam Laporta is from the town I live in. Fair enough. Can't blame you there. Is Sam Laporta playing? Do we know? I don't think we have any indication for sure that he's going to be good to go, but I hope he is. The guy Slens, welcome. It's been a hot minute. Looking very, very professional. Thank you. Long time no talk. The knowledge of football has gone up tenfold since watching your streams. Well, good. Welcome to Football 101 with Alexis, a.k.a. the fifth quarter, here on YouTube. But, hey, if you're here for football knowledge, if you're here for entertainment, or if you're just here for a little morning show to listen to on your way to work, whatever floats your boat, tune on in, come to the chat, hang out, and let's talk. Because I like having these moments after getting through all the segments to be able to talk and respond to the chat as well, because I like looking at what everyone has to say for the week. Thanks for picking the Ravens. Thank you for picking the Ravens. Well, if you're talking about picking the Ravens this weekend, yes, I picked the Ravens. In terms of the Super Bowl, I have not given away my Super Bowl prediction yet for the Super Bowl. I might be wrong, but I see some Trubisky and Jordan Love. I said that too earlier in the season, but I think Jordan Love has kind of surpassed the Trubisky level, threshold, whatever you want to call it. I think he's definitely better than Trubisky, but yeah, he definitely is. I do think he's still going to have some more ups and downs next season when people have some more tape on him and, however the team performs. But this is a good Packers team led by a good head coach, and that hasn't changed in like 20 years. So we'll see how it goes. But I think Jordan Love definitely had a very good first season. Oh, yeah, that's right. You had a night shift. Well, have a good night there, Chaz. I'll stop commenting because my face keeps popping up. Enjoy the fifth quarter, though. Well, I don't have to make your face pop up. I could read your message without highlighting you, so don't you worry. But I appreciate everyone for tuning into the show. I'm glad everyone enjoyed it. I'm glad everyone who was here was able to come and join in the chat. If you aren't here right now for the live, I do plan on going live most Tuesday mornings and also some weekend days as well here. I'll try to come up with a set schedule coming up here soon, but I do work full time here, guys, at least right now. Still. So, gotta work it around that schedule. However, I do really appreciate everyone who's here for the live to bring up comments in the chat, to be able to talk with you all, and everyone who watches it after it's live. And comment on the video there. Even when it's not live, I still look and read and respond to all the comments. So I really appreciate those. And also, if you enjoy these videos, if you enjoy these lives, if you enjoy the fifth quarter, if you enjoy any of the videos I post on this channel, please like the video and share it and comment. It really helps with the algorithm so more people see the content, so we have more people in the chat, more friendly faces, more community here building, and helps YouTube really start pushing my content more to other people who might also enjoy it here and join our chat with us. So I'd really appreciate that. But if you like the video, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. And if you have any segment ideas or anything you would like to see me talk about these next few months coming up here in this off season, please let me know. I'm happy to any suggestions. But once again, I really appreciate everyone tuning in for the show today. It's been a fun one, and I hope you all enjoyed. And as always, I'm Alexis Jade, and this has been the fifth quarter.